Hey everybody, it's me, Jill, and welcome to Jill Informed. This is the recap of The Real Housewives of New York City, Season 12, Episode 8. If you can't take the heat, get out of the Russian bathhouse. Is that the longest title that we've ever had so far? All right, we've all seen the previews. They're getting swatted with leaves, so let's just get started. Well, this episode opens up with Leah, Luann, and Tinsley having lunch together at a little outdoor cafe, and everybody's sick. Leah, she's got a sinus infection and an ear infection, and dear God, she turns and coughs into her hands. I get that this is all pre-coronavirus, but nothing I have ever seen on these shows, and good God, you guys know we've seen a lot, has made me cringe more than that cough into her hands. You know, right after that, then she picks up her orange juice, and you know she's touching her utensils, and it just... I swear I am not a germaphobe, but just living through this pandemic and how much you learn about the spread of viruses is enough to keep you from ever doing that again. Before Tinsley gets there, Leah is rehashing. She's like, I like crazy, but yesterday at the orchard was not a fun kind of crazy. Luann's like, oh, and poor Sonia. Leah goes, what do you mean? Sonia did that to herself. In the van on the way home, Sonia was vomiting. I don't, on the floor, I don't know what. Tinsley, jumped up to get out of the way. So gross, so disgusting. I mean, at this point, it would be like, ladies, raise your hand if you don't have a drinking problem. Because I don't know who that would be. I guess Ramona, I've never seen her sloppy. Have you guys? Everybody else, I believe, has had their moment of being not so great. Meanwhile, Ramona, Dorinda, and Sonia are in an exercise class. The instructor's name is Bergen, and Ramona is introducing her. And she said, Sonia, this is Bergen. She's the one that's getting me into shape. Sonia goes, what was your name? And she goes, Bergen. Oh, okay, Bergen, not Birdie. Too soon? I don't know. Poor Bridie. Oh, I don't know if Bridie will ever recover from her encounter with the Housewives of New York City. Back to Leah and Luann. Right before Tinsley gets there, Leah's like, I don't know what's going on with the others, like Dorinda, the way she was attacking Tinsley. What is going on there? And Luann goes, well, yes, we need to step in and help them through it. Yeah, that's going to work. Anyway, Tinsley shows up, and like I said, she's coughing and hacking too, and she's like, I realized I was screaming a lot yesterday. Luann goes, I'm sorry, girls. I thought it would be a fun outing. And Leah goes, no. It's not your fault. You were great. It's the others I'm not so sure about. So after the workout, the three of them sit down on their yoga mats to have a little chat. There was concern with how wasted Sonia got. Why they weren't concerned with how wasted Dorinda got, I don't know, but I guess because Dorinda wasn't vomiting in the car on the way home. But Sonia seems totally open to it. Yeah, you're right. Ramona's like, you just reached a point and then you went past it. And that's not good. I care about you. We're concerned about your health. And Sonia's like, yep, you're right. When I just can't do this when I'm in public. That's true, but also, and this is just a thought, maybe you don't get that far gone even in private. Sonia said, if it was just a girls' trip, normally I think it's fine. It's just us girls. But, when I'm in public, like at the orchard, I can't do that. I mean, at least she recognizes that. And then, this is so hilarious to me, Dorinda says, what were you going after Tinsley about? Sonia? What about you? Then Ramona said, she's always screeching. Dorinda's point is, this little girl, I'm a victim all the time. We could all be considered victims. Yeah. Can I just say this? You guys were attacking her. You have been attacking her since last season. about not being open about her relationship. So it's doubtful to me that she would be acting like a victim if you weren't coming at her. Nobody's coming at you, Dorinda, because Richard died or because John is a sweaty sleazebag. Otherwise, you might get defensive and appear to be a victim yourself. It's interesting to me that they can't see that they're all kind of piling on her, or they don't want to see it. The ladies at lunch, of course, are talking about the same thing, and good God, I'm agreeing with Luann. In her confessional, she said, Tinsley's reaction is what the problem is. She reacts by getting defensive and getting screechy, which is just brain-piercing, and then Dorinda reacts to that with aggression. Point taken, I understand. If Tinsley could manage to control her reaction to being attacked, things might be different, but that's a little bit like blaming the victim, right? Like we're going to come at you and attack you, but you should control the way you react to us. Otherwise, we're going to really come at you. You guys. Okay. So Leah says, all right, that's fine, but let's talk about what the real issue is. And Luann goes, what's the real issue? And she said, the real issue is that Tinsley was born into this life that Dorinda puts on a pedestal. Then Luann's like, so she attacks Tinsley for being born with a silver spoon in her mouth, which she can't do. That's not right to do that. And she's like, I wasn't born that way. Leah's like, I wasn't born that way either. And Tinsley, now I'm understanding what they mean about Tinsley's reaction. She goes, that's what I'm talking about. And then not only does she screech it, but she gets up on her feet, stands at the end of the table, and is like leaning over going, this is what I'm trying to talk to her about. Tinsley, you might have grown up your whole life with nobody ever listening to you or paying attention to you or taking you seriously or whatever it is that makes her think that she needs to stand up and raise her voice to be heard. But you don't need to do it here. First of all, these two women are on your side, at least for right now. I mean, she's not just preaching to the choir, she's screaming at the choir. And it's completely unnecessary. Back with the ladies in the exercise place, Ramona again with words of wisdom. Has she been faking it all along? And she's really like a wise sage. No, she's like, I see what you're saying, Dorinda, but I think you just need to take a step back. She wasn't given the tools we were given. And in her confessional, she said, I don't see Tinsley so much as the victim as much as I see Dorinda victimizing Tinsley. So I don't know. Dorinda's like, but it frustrates me. Oh, real quick, this is for Skibo G, who wanted to hear me say suffering succotash in Dorinda's voice. Tinsley's just driving me crazy. I mean, suffering succotash. Okay, moving on. Now we are with Dorinda and her life coach. At first, I think she was trying to tell him that she just was trying to get the best out of Tinsley. Or she just wanted Tinsley to be her best. But now she's recognizing that she's got a lot of stuff going on internally with the house and her breakup with John, and that could possibly be why she's less than patient with Tinsley. I would love to know if she was telling her life coach that I'm trying to get Tinsley to share more of her life because we all have to share our lives. All right, so, okay, this is making a lot of sense to me. She is breaking down. A lot of it has to do with Richard, but this isn't just my husband died and I'm sad. This is a woman who, because of the flood at Bluestone Manor, she threw away a lot of keepsakes that she thought would be too painful to go through, and also because they were ruined, it would be even more painful to see things damaged. And so she just kind of like got rid of them. And I almost think that what she's describing is like she's going through this delayed mourning. At the time he died, she really used her effort to make it seem like she was okay. everything's okay, and like to kind of hold herself together. And it wasn't until she lost some precious mementos in the flood that she's maybe finally letting herself go through this grieving process. In addition to that, what's happening during this grieving process is, she said, it's making her angry toward other people. It's not a reason to come after Tinsley specifically, but it could be an explanation for why she's coming at her so hard. Well, she also said that, she's always nurtured everybody else, and now it's Dorinda time. She wants to be selfish right now, put herself first, and her life coach said, absolutely, you can nurture everybody else, but you come first right now. It's a little scary for how monstrous she has been, to think that she's going to be even more into herself, but I guess we'll see how that goes. Okay, next we are with Leah, and she is heading to the Russian bathhouse, which is in her neighborhood. When they were at lunch, Luann suggested a spa day or something to kind of get the ladies together and see if they could talk, or at least kind of make amends a little bit. So Leah said, I took that idea and ran with it. I have invited all the ladies to this Russian bathhouse for a spa day. So Leah gets there first, and she's telling the clerk that she wants the ladies to have the full Russian bathhouse experience, the hats and the robes and everything. And can I just say, I know why she wants the hats? Because it basically looks like a frickin' bucket hat. And we know Leah loves a bucket hat. Tinsley arrives first. She and Leah are testing out the Russian vodkas, all these different flavored vodkas. They're trying the ginger vodka because Leah goes, that sounds kind of healthy. Meanwhile, we see Dorinda and Luann in the car together. They're heading over, and Luann's like, I don't normally ever go downtown. Believe me, I'm not thrilled about this. And Dorinda's like, I only come downtown for 5 reasons. Birth certificate, death certificate, marriage certificate, jury duty, or the DMV. I might have gotten that wrong, but you get the gist of it. It's not the Upper East Side. Luann does kind of spill the beans a little bit about her lunch with Leah and Tinsley. And Dorinda's like, oh, I bet it was the topic of discussion. And she goes, well, yeah, you kind of were. They're just trying to figure out a way to talk to you and get things figured out. Leah has more of a gangster approach. And Dorinda goes, that's why I like her. Leah and I have been talking a lot lately, and I think she's a really good mother, and I respect that. And I like that she speaks her mind. I'm not sure Luann thought she was going to say that, because I don't think Luann thought gangster was the right way to go. And I think she thought Dorinda wouldn't like that either. All right, well, all the ladies are there now, and they're not loving it. This is really bare bones. And somebody said, this is like prison-like in here. And Sonia is never below 14th Street because, they have all the gates down all day long. This is graffiti land. There's graffiti everywhere. Those are the areas I avoid uptown, and it's all over downtown. Okay. I think Leah knew that they would be complaining, and she didn't care. So good for her. Surprisingly, Ramona you guys, what's happening? She actually seems the most accepting of this place that I can't believe is up to her standards, Weird. Okay, so they're in the sauna for a little while. Sonia and Ramona at the exact same time said, oh my God, look at them. It looks like a photo shoot. I guess. Now they're getting their massages, and this is done with a certain kind of leaves, and the guys hold like this whole bunch of leaves in each hand, and they brushing back and forth over the ladies. And someone said it's like a car wash, which is exactly what it does kind of remind me of, because it's very fast. Ramona's like, ow, not so hard. It's kind of funny. I've never seen this type of massage before. After Ramona is saying, not so hard. And then when she was supposed to turn over on her back, she's like, no, I'm done. That was enough for me. In her confessional, she goes, it's a little sensual, I think. Yeah, I think it was a little sensual. You hated it. You begged him to stop. Is that a little glimpse into your sex life? Okay, so now they're having lunch there. Leah had ordered lunch for everybody beforehand. So now she's like, all right, I would like to make a little toast. I want to thank all of you guys for coming down here and for, including me in your group. I think that each and every one of you has, taken the time to get to know me and everything. I know a few of you guys have said this before, and I just want to take a second to agree with you. I think Leah is really stepping into the Bethany role. I mean, listen, this is her first year. We're only 8 episodes in, but already I can tell she's got a cool confidence about her, even as far as like not being afraid to order for everybody or plan this spa day in her neighborhood and on her terms, There's a certain confidence that I think Bethany had. She also has similar personality to Bethany, similar dry sense of humor, that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, I like her. I think she was exactly the right addition for this. Did somebody tell me, or did I read somewhere that Bethany recommended her for the show when she left? I don't know. I can see that being possible. Okay, so Ramona said, I think before the weather gets really cold, we should plan a trip, and I would like us to go to Newport. And Luann goes, Newport, Rhode Island? And she goes, yeah, it's a 3-hour drive. And she goes, oh, it's very beautiful there. So they're all talking about, yes, and we should take a boat ride and all this kind of stuff. In Leah's confessional, she said, I think before we plan another girls' trip, we should take care of the elephant in the room and get this problem addressed. But nobody's talking about it. So Leah does. She says, before we make any plans here, I think we need to address the elephant in the room. The orchard trip, I went home after that and I started crying. So I think we need to acknowledge that it was a real show. There was a lot of stuff that went on there and people screaming at each other and attacking each other. And I was like, oh. I just think we need to acknowledge it. And Dorinda stands up and she's getting another bottle of wine, or whatever. Maybe it was the vodka, and she's pouring glasses for others. And she goes, I acknowledge it. And then she sits down and doesn't say anything else. Luann said, yes, it was a little bit of a ganging up on. Ramona said, yeah, it was bad. And we need to figure out how to not do that again. And she goes, Dorinda, don't be mad at me. Because I was thinking about it before I came here. And I know I'm not perfect. God knows I'm not perfect. I'm glad she admits that. And you advise me a lot, Dorinda. I respect you tremendously. But I realize that you have a pattern. And don't get me wrong, I love you. I really do. But you have a pattern. You go for the jugular. You go below the belt. And you really hurt people. I don't even think you realize you do it. And after you do it, you feel bad about it. Dorinda, yeah, well, you do it all the time, so you should recognize it. Well, so much for her not taking it the wrong way. Ramona's like, see, that's what you do, Dorinda. You turn it on. You know what? That's what you do. I'm just going to stop it right now. I'm going to stop it right here. Well, this starts going off the rails a little bit. And Leah goes, listen, I really wasn't trying to blow up the table. I need a shot now. So she's having the shots of vodka. Always a good idea with this group. And she said, honestly, I love each and every one of you. And Dorinda, I feel like I have a special bond with you. At least I feel it. And Dorinda goes, I do too. I feel that way about you. And I think she does, because she basically said as much in the car ride over with Luann. So Leah said, very honestly, I have to tell you, though, that I feel like, what if that anger that you have comes back at me one day? I'm kind of afraid of that. And she goes, I understand. I do. And Ramona's like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm afraid. Dorinda, yeah, I'm afraid of you, too. I'm afraid of you. In Dorinda's confessional, she goes, she talks about going for the jugular. Ramona's a freaking vampire. In Luann's confessional now, she's agreeing with Ramona that Dorinda just, instead of listening to what everybody's saying, she deflects and she pushes it off on somebody else. This time it's Ramona. I should also point out that up until now, Tinsley hasn't said a word. Not one single word. So now Tinsley's first words are, I don't judge you and I respect you. Dorinda, I don't judge you either, and I respect you too. And Ramona's like, okay, here, let's toast to that. And yeah, they toast on that note. I mean, come on, was anything at all resolved? After the toast, Dorinda said, okay, I'm gonna go pee now. She leaves, and everyone's like, okay, was it good? Was that good? And Tinsley said, well, it was more of a ceasefire. I don't know if anything got resolved. All right, next we are at Leah's apartment, and her sister Sarah comes over. They have a conversation about Pita Guy, who is this guy that Leah is dating. He owns a pita restaurant, or I don't know, something to do with pita. And she said that she sent him a picture of herself naked with just a pita covering her downstairs. And he sent it to somebody else, only he sent it to her by mistake. And so she's like, yeah, I mean, that was not cool, but I think he's like a decent guy, but he just made a mistake. Are you sure? Because that's a little bit of a deal breaker. First of all, girls, don't sext anybody unless you want that to be seen by everyone. I think you always need to sext someone with the thought in your head that this could be broadcast on a billboard in Times Square. Nothing is private. So I'm sure she's comfortable with her body, as she should be. It's just, I don't know, but knowing that he was gonna then send it to one of his friends seems creepy. Maybe that's just me, but yeah, so she's cool with it, and she's like, I always date ugly guys, so yeah, I guess she's getting back at him after all by telling everyone who watches The Real Housewives of New York City that he's ugly. Yeah, she likes that. She wants to be the beauty in the relationship, and she needs her beast. So then Leah asks Sarah, how was Connecticut? How was the weekend? And she's like, I mean, and Leah goes, what? And she goes, I don't really want to upset you. And she's like, just what? How was mom and dad? And she said, well, mom was upset about you. And then Leah tells us that she and her mom had started speaking again. Leah said things aren't great with her and her mom, but they're kind of sweeping things under the rug right now. Sarah said, I don't really mix too much with mom. And Leah said, I do. I tell mom everything. And I think maybe mom doesn't want me to tell her everything. Maybe not. You're a 30-whatever-year-old woman. Maybe you keep a few things private. You're an adult. Your mom doesn't need to know every detail of your life. And yeah, it might be a little easier on her. Then her sister said, I think that you connect with mom through your bad behavior. And Leah said, yeah, I think you're right. There's just this old pattern with us. I think that's what's happening. Leah might have called and told her mom, I drank last night after 9 years of not drinking, because Leah falls into the role of I'm the bad daughter, and she almost needs to validate that in a weird way. Like when I do something that might be kind of wrong, I'm going to tell my mom and she's going to punish me for it. I think it's a weird sort of, I don't want to say comfort, but you know how they say like women who come from abusive fathers choose abusive men because that's what they know, that's familiar, and in the familiarity is a weird sort of comfort, if that makes sense. I mean, it doesn't make sense, but you know what I mean. Okay, now we are at Ramona's apartment. It's the evening, and she is having a cocktail party, I guess maybe you would call it, or she's just having a lot of her women friends over. So far, these are not women we recognize, except for Elise. Elise's streak has not been broken. She's been in every episode thus far, but there are no housewives there yet. Okay, well, Sonia and Dorinda arrive now. Ramona acknowledges that things weren't so great with her and Dorinda the other night, and she hopes that the old Dorinda comes, not this new Dorinda who's hateful. You mean the new Dorinda who's being very selfish? When Dorinda goes to greet Sonia, she goes, I'm so mad at her. And then we get Sonia's confessional, and she said, when I was in the locker room at that spa, Ramona told me I needed to lose 10 pounds because I'm beautiful. I'm beautiful with 10 extra pounds on, bitch. Which, of course, come on, what woman who cares about her friends would ever say something like that? Now, that's the old Ramona that I know and love. But also, let me just say this. It explains why 5 minutes earlier, when Sonia arrived, she said, I have that dress you wanted that you liked so much. You know how they were all supposed to wear the dresses that Sonia gave them? Ramona said hers didn't fit. And I thought she was just lying about it because she didn't want to wear it. But then we see a picture of her in the dress, but it wouldn't zip up. And the dress is cool. You know, she looks pretty in it. So she's like, here, I got you a large. And she says it in front of everybody like she's trying to shame her. But Ramona's like, oh, that's great. Maybe I need an extra large. And she said, no, this will be fine. I wore it. It fits me. And Ramona goes, oh, well, if it fits you, it'll fit me. And Sonia goes, well, actually, I think I'm a medium. So, yeah, I think like as long as women will continue being super catty with each other, this is the problem women have. Be kind to one another. We don't build each other up enough. So now they're telling all the other ladies about the Russian bathhouse that they went to yesterday. And Elise said, oh, I've been to that place. I know what you're talking about. The Wall Street guys would all go there with their strippers. And she goes, who came up with it? Was it Leah? And they go, yeah, of course, of course. Okay. You make every comment count, don't you, Elise? So Dorinda asks Sonia, did you have fun? And she goes, at the spa? And she goes, yeah. And she goes, yeah. I mean, you know, I was glad that Tinsley got those 4 words out. I respect you. Ramona said, yeah, I think, you know, she said, I don't judge you and I respect you. And I think that was good. I think that was good that she said that. And Dorinda agreed. And she goes, yeah, but Ramona, what you said wasn't right. So Ramona goes, well, you take people down all the time. She goes, do you know this word? And someone's got on their phone, and it's Schadenfreude. I'm saying it wrong. And Elise goes, I'm married to a German. Do you know what Schadenfreude is? You don't wish someone ill, but if something bad happens to someone, you're happy about it. And Ramona goes, are you crazy? Dorinda's like, you know I was in a bad place yesterday, and you bring up something to make it worse. You brought up something from years ago. Well, when you were in Cartagena with Luann, you guys, I don't know if you caught this or not, but in the background, Sonia goes, yeah, that was 17 diarrheas ago. So it turns into the you don't support me, and Ramona's like, I do support you. No, you don't. The fighting is escalating between Dorinda and Ramona. And Ramona's telling her, let's talk about this in private. In Ramona's confessional, she said, I think it's very ironic that when I bring up something about John or somebody, she says, let's talk about it privately. But here she is, bringing it up in front of all of my friends, women that she doesn't even know. She's going off like a crazy woman. Yeah, Dorinda is just going off on Ramona. She brings up that Sonia called me last night in tears because this one's fat shaming her. Now she's like, you know, grandstanding for all the other women there. Ramona's just standing there, kind of taking it. It's not great. I have to say, though, Sonia is totally backing up Dorinda against Ramona. I mean, I don't love that either. But boy, once Dorinda gets on a roll, she does not stop, and she is on a roll. It's really going down the tubes, though, in terms of like how low they're going with each other. Ramona said something like, I'm sorry that Richard died tomorrow. I'm sorry that it's your anniversary coming up. And Dorinda goes, I'm sorry you can't keep a man. I'm sorry there's been so many men in your life that have come and gone. And Dorinda's like, you know what? I want to go. And Sonia and Dorinda heading out the door. Elise is like, Dorinda, come on. Really? The two of you are leaving? And she's like, oh, yeah, I'd love to be kicked out of someone's house. I missed it if she was being kicked out because Elise is trying to get them to come back in. She's following them down the hall. Well, now Ramona comes out in the hall and she's like, listen, I love you both. They're at the elevators. And here come the waterworks for Dorinda. This is why I just think she goes from this anger and this yelling and screaming and like, you know, punching and punching and punching somebody to dissolving in tears. Her emotions are so heightened. It's crazy. It almost makes me wonder if there's something biological going on with Dorinda. Well, that turns into you're like a sister to me, and I know, and they hug in the hall, and then Elisa's trying to wrangle them back down the hall into the apartment because Dorinda is loud and her talking is nonstop. You don't do listen to me. I swear to God, I'm sick of breaking up with John. It was been 7 years, and I know I'm tired, I'm scared, and I don't want to be alone, and I really needed you right now. It was a lot. This ends up in a group hug with Sonia, Dorinda, and Ramona. I'm exhausted. And that is it for this episode. You guys, previews for next week in Newport. Leah, girl, let me just say, naked, running around with a tiki torch is child's play compared to this. She's off the rails. I don't want to be worried about her. I want to enjoy off the rails Leah. Episode 1, when she said, I've been sober for 9 years, I was like, oh, shoot. Come on. And then, oh no, but I'm going to have a drink. I'm going to start drinking. I was like, yes. Isn't there a happy medium, ladies? Do you have to drink to a level that I'm concerned? Because that's not entertaining for me. All right, guys. Thank you for joining me.
If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet to Jill Informed, please go ahead and do that. If you like the Housewives and you would love to see more content like this, go ahead and click on the bell icon on my homepage. That way you will be notified every time I have a new video out. Oh, and don't forget to leave a comment. I read all your comments. I love to hear from you guys.
All right, stay home if you can. Stay safe. Wash your hands. I love you guys. I will be back next week with the next recap of The Real Housewives of New York City. And I hope you join me. See you then. Bye.